Jeffrey Epstein. In recent years, you have heard this man's name a lot, but his name has never been mentioned positively. Inappropriate tapes, drug parties, tapes with famous people, correspondences, statements, close friendship with political leaders, and more. Who is this man who shook American politics? A Mossad agent? A Zionist? A billionaire? Or just an ordinary person? This process, which first erupted as the Epstein Island scandal, has continued to the present day. The island, associated with billionaire businessman Jeffrey Epstein, draws attention due to allegations involving many famous and well-known individuals. Epstein's Island is known not only for luxury and beauty, but also for scandal and mystery. While the crimes of American billionaire Jeffrey Epstein and his associates have come to light with newly disclosed court files, there are also allegations that Epstein worked for the Israeli intelligence agency Mossad. Epstein, who was charged with erotically abusing dozens of girls under the age of 18, the youngest being 14, and running a prostitution ring, and who was found dead in prison while in custody, has court files that reveal details about the incidents. The files show that Epstein's prostitution network involved Ghislaine Maxwell, lawyer Alan Dershowitz, who was planned to defend Israel at the International Court of Justice, modeling agency owner Jean-Luc Brunel, Prince Andrew, scientist Stephen Hawking, and many prominent figures, and that they were complicit in Epstein's erotical abuse crimes. So how did the Epstein case start? Jeffrey Epstein was arrested in Florida, USA in 2005 on charges of paying to have love with a 14-year-old girl. Although many underage girls accused Epstein and his associates of subjecting them to erotical abuse, the court found Epstein guilty in 2008 of erotically abusing only one person. After being found guilty, the billionaire received a 13-month sentence. After New York prosecutors found Epstein guilty of running a prostitution ring in 2019, the billionaire was found dead in prison while in custody. So, what is Ghislaine Maxwell's position in the case? Epstein's former girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, was sentenced to 20 years in prison after being found guilty by the Manhattan District Attorney in 2021 of providing underage girls for erotical encounters to Epstein and his associates. Throughout the Epstein case, Maxwell engaged in numerous actions such as offering money to friends of Virginia Giuffre, one of the victims and the main plaintiff against Epstein, to share information that would discredit the victim, denying the victim's testimonies, and defending the innocence of those involved. The case files ordered to be disclosed in Maxwell's 2015 trial were made public following a decision by U.S. District Judge Loretta Preska. Giuffre's lawsuit against Maxwell concluded in 2017, but the case files, with the first 2,000 pages released in 2019, were made public in 2020, 2021, and 2022. The files released in 2023 following Preska's decision had previously been withheld due to the privacy rights of the victims and the accused. The lawsuit files present details about the people involved in the incident to the public. Prince Andrew, brother of King Charles III of England, whose name is mentioned many times in the lawsuit files that U.S. District Judge Loretta Preska decided to make public, was accused of erotical harassment by one of the victims, Johanna Sjoberg, in the files. Prince Andrew denied the accuracy of Sjoberg's statement that she was harassed by the prince in Epstein's Manhattan apartment in 2001. In the file, plaintiff and victim Virginia Giuffre alleged that at the age of 17, she was deceived into leaving her job at former U.S. President Donald Trump's spa to become Epstein's masseuse, and that Epstein harassed her and many other minors in various locations such as Florida, New York, the Virgin Islands, and New Mexico. Another name mentioned in the files is former Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz, who was accused of erotical harassment by Virginia Roberts. Dershowitz and Maxwell denied the allegations. Giuffre, who stated that Epstein forced her to have erotical relations with people around him, withdrew her accusations against Epstein's former lawyer Dershowitz in 2022. Giuffre's lawsuit against Prince Andrew was also closed in the same year. In a statement included in the lawsuit files, Giuffre said that she was forced to have relations with Dershowitz, Jean-Luc Brunel, who was found dead in Paris prison during detention in 2022, a prime minister, American politicians, and world leaders. Giuffre also stated that former U.S. Vice President Al Gore and George Mitchell, who served as a senator during former President Barack Obama's administration, were friends of Epstein and frequently visited his home in New York. The lawsuit files also included an email in which Epstein asked Maxwell to offer money to Giuffre's family and friends to deny allegations that scientist Stephen Hawking witnessed erotical abuse activities. What are Giuffre's allegations against Clinton? In one of the statements in the files, there was an allegation that former U.S. President Bill Clinton threatened Vanity Fair magazine not to publish an article about Epstein's prostitution ring. In the same file, plaintiff Giuffre also claimed that Clinton was well aware of the details of Epstein's prostitution ring and traveled with him many times. Clinton's representatives also argued that the former president was not aware of Epstein's crimes. Epstein's former employee, Juan Alessi, stated that Prince Andrew frequently visited Epstein's house in Florida, saying, "Prince Andrew would stay with us for weeks." Alessi also mentioned that Andrew's wife, Sarah Ferguson, visited the house and that the prince received massage services every day. When asked about Trump, Alessi said he visited the house but did not stay overnight and did not receive massage services. In the case files, in addition to these names, famous figures such as former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, The Simpsons creator Matt Groening, actor Kevin Spacey, singer Michael Jackson, illusionist David Copperfield, and former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson were also included. In the disclosed files, it was revealed that Bill Clinton was fond of young women, and it was also alleged that Epstein contacted Trump before going to his venues in New Jersey. What is the claim that Epstein was a Mossad agent? Ari Ben-Menashe, a former Israeli intelligence officer who spoke to RT International in 2020, claimed that Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, and Epstein were Israeli agents, and that all these scandals were orchestrated by Mossad to gather information and blackmail famous individuals. Menashe also alleged that Prince Andrew was deceived and used to bring famous people to Epstein, and he claimed that former Israeli Prime Minister Barak was aware of the events. Recalling that former Labor Secretary Alexander Acosta said Epstein worked for intelligence, Ben-Menashe stated that this intelligence was for Israel. Finally, Ben-Menashe claimed that he had previously been at the facility where Epstein stayed and suggested that it was nearly impossible for someone there to have committed suicide. On Wednesday, for the first time, case files were disclosed that included the names of former U.S. Presidents Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, Prince Andrew, the brother of King Charles III of England, and many other celebrities. Following these, 19 previously closed files were also made public. In the newly released files, which consist of approximately 300 pages, rather than famous names, details about the methods Jeffrey Epstein and his girlfriend Ghislaine Maxwell used to deceive underage girls came to the forefront. The files extensively featured the statements of Detective Joseph Recaray, who once led the investigation into Epstein. In the Recaray statement, it was explained that Epstein took underage girls into his home as masseuses or servants, some of whom were deceived with the promise of becoming models, and then marketed to wealthy individuals. The detective reported that he had taken statements from at least 30 girls who worked in Epstein's home in this manner. The files also contained some details about the dates and ways Maxwell assisted Epstein in finding underage girls. Bill Clinton did not want any articles published against Epstein. In one of the statements in the files, referring to Virginia Giuffre, the main plaintiff against Epstein, there was an allegation that Bill Clinton threatened Vanity Fair magazine to prevent the publication of an article claiming Epstein had established a prostitution ring. In the same file, Giuffre also claimed that Clinton was fully aware of the prostitution ring run by Epstein and traveled many times with him. In the latest information released about the Epstein file, important details regarding U.S. President Donald Trump were revealed. Following this, President Trump ordered an investigation targeting the Democrats for the Epstein file. He claimed that there are many Democrats in the Epstein file, while Trump tried to distance himself from the file by saying, "Jeffrey Epstein and I had a very bad relationship for years." He said the real focus should be on Epstein's circle. Trump stated, "There are Epstein Democrats. If you are going to open the files, you need to investigate Epstein's friends." Bill Clinton, the president of Harvard, executives of major banks, major donors, they should all be on the table. Trump, recalling allegations that former U.S. President Bill Clinton made numerous flights to the island, said, "I have never been to that island. It is said that Bill Clinton went 28 times. Regarding the Epstein case, Trump stated that an impartial and strong prosecutor will be appointed, and mentioned that Jay Clayton had been assigned. Clayton is known as a former chairman of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. About Clayton, Trump said, "Jay Clayton is a real legal talent. He is one of the most respected people in the country in terms of law and law enforcement. He will handle this job in the Southern District." Denying that the request for an investigation is political, Trump said, "This is not about the election. I am considered the country's highest-ranking law enforcement officer, and I have the right to give such an order. I do not want to use it, but legally, I have the right."